All right. Hello, everybody. It's that time. We need to talk. Rivals needs to change. So, I'm sure everybody has seen that Overwatch 2 is now just Overwatch 1 again. And they're making big changes, and it looks like this update is clearly a huge response, and it's adjusting basically to the Marvel Rivals schedule, right? Marvel Rivals is updating way more frequently. They have way more characters being pumped out, and Overwatch is clearly trying to like match the hype, right? And it's working. So I think this is great news for both Overwatch and Rivals, because, you know, competition is what brings out the best. That's why we play competitive games. So now, today is actually update day. So Elsa Bloodstone is in the game. She just came out. She's very cool. Has a lot going for her. Seems fun. Cool character design. Combo heavy. Doesn't seem too broken. Doesn't seem OP. Doesn't seem useless. I think her design is awesome. Knocked out of the park. Which is really necessary because I have a lot of problems with Deadpool and like their addition to the game. So basically, the thing that needs to happen now is Rivals needs to change how they balance their game. Okay, so with Overwatch coming back, I want Rivals to really think hard about who they want to cater to. Because here's the thing that Rivals has going for it. It doesn't have to cater to casuals. I know right now it does. I know that's currently how they view the game. They don't want to do buffs. They want to like make the game fun for casuals. They don't really care too much about competitive. That's what they've talked about in the past as far as balance, right? I think that needs to change because Marvel Rivals, it has the IP of Marvel. I've talked to so many people now just doing VOD reviews and building our community. I've talked to so many people who got into this game, and this is their first like competitive shooter. They never really played shooters. They never really played competitive games. They never played Overwatch, anything like that. They literally did it just because they like Rivals, or they like Marvel, or they like a specific Marvel character. And they're like, hey, that sounds fun, and it's free, right? That's exactly what I'm saying, Hollow. Like, you don't need to cater to casuals. Because, like, think about the release of Deadpool. A ton of people were like, I want to play Deadpool. And they come back, which is awesome. What you now need is you need to focus on the other half. Rivals needs to focus on keeping the competitive player base happy. Because those are the people that actually keep the game alive long enough between the dry spells of character releases, IPs, hype things. Those are the people that keep the game alive long enough with the competitive aspect, with the content around competitive aspects, with the Marvel Rivals championships, all of that stuff. Like, those are the people who keep it alive in between there. And so those are the people that we need to start changing how we balance the game. So there's like the giant elephant in the room is triple support. Triple support needs to change. It is a giant weakness to this game. There are so many fun supports, like Adam just got a freaking fly ability. He just got 2 of them, right? He has 2 different movement options, and the community is still going to throw a fit anytime you have Adam if it's not triple support, because they don't know how to position well and actually play with duo support. And the biggest thing is it's not a support ult. So I'm not just going to complain in this video. I'm going to try to offer some solutions, okay? So to fix triple support, the main problem is the support ults, okay? All the other stuff is annoying, but you can get over with. But 3 support ults is just awful to play against, and it's awful to play as. Having giant fields of invincibility is fine, as long as there's not 3 of them and they last 30 seconds, right? So if you have a Mantis, a Luna, and a Cloak, and you put all those back to back, that's 13 seconds plus 8 seconds plus 10 seconds. That's literally 31 seconds of invincibility that nobody on one team is going to die. And it's awful to play against. And that's if you have these 3. Like, imagine you have Cloak, and then Luna, right? Like, then factor in Gambit's 10 seconds of craziness. It's too much. So what I would suggest is we actually just start with nerfing support ults, specifically their duration. Okay? Just half all of their durations. Cloak ult, instead of 13, it lasts 6. But compensate with making her go faster, right? Luna ult, 5. Invis ult, 4. Mantis, 4. All of them. Cut them in half. That instantly is going to go crazy. You can't just do that in a vacuum, because you should probably also reduce either the power or the duration of a lot of the DPS ults, because they're over-tuned specifically to handle these ones. I think having an ult more often and having it not be as impactful is actually a much better way to play the game. Right now, the most important thing in this game, I've done so many VOD reviews of tanks, DPS, and supports, and I always say the most often thing that loses a game is support ulting in the wrong situation. So I tell tank players and I tell DPS players, force out an enemy support ult, right? If you go in and you force it in the wrong time, then your team can actually win. And what this does is it puts DPS and tanks in this weird position where we're just kind of like waiting for the support ult to end. And then it puts supports in this situation where they never want to press ult unless it's in the absolute perfect situation, because if they don't, the game is literally on their shoulders and they just lose. So that needs to change. If it doesn't change, this game is going to be choked out. Along with that, the philosophy as well needs to change. This is something a lot of people have talked about. I know Flash has talked about it, where the whole idea of all the characters being broken means that nobody is just wrong. We're seeing now every new character they add has so many abilities and so many different options, and so they have to keep going back and changing old characters, which I think is fine. Power creep is normal, but the pace of power creep in Marvel Rivals is so intense that like people are just getting left behind left and right, and it's so bad. So we need to be less afraid of nerfs. So now is where I'm going to shift it to talking about the community, okay? I feel like we're terrified as a community of nerfs, and we have very loud feedback. When your favorite character gets nerfed, everybody jumps on it. I'm never playing this game again. This is terrible. How dare they remove BP's, you know, they made his dash longer. Fuck this game, blah, blah, blah. And like people go crazy. Spider-Man, all this stuff. We can't do that. Okay, like it's okay to be vocal and say, I don't like this change, but when we do it, we have to provide alternatives and understand where they're coming from. BP is oppressive to play against, so I understand the nerf. However, this makes my favorite character unplayable. So instead of that nerf, what I would prefer is a nerf that reduces his damage maybe slightly, makes it to where his spear isn't AoE, tightens some of the dashes to where their hitbox is smaller and harder to hit, but make it more rewarding for the BP players because their favorite thing is dashing through and hitting dash chains. And if you're really good at that, you can still do stuff, so you just raise the skill floor, okay? And then you make it to where it's not terrible to play against. The next thing I want to talk about, leading directly into that, is good character design. A good character design is something that is fun to play. This is all I'm asking for. Something that is fun to play and not terrible to play against. Okay? Those two things are very important. It can be fun to play against. That's the ideal. But as long as it's not terrible to play against. So BP, terrible to play against. Spidey, in his current position, he's not super terrible to play against, but it's almost there. Now, this is where we're going to get spicy. Deadpool, terrible. He was actually a terrible addition to the game just for this one specific purpose. He's fun to play, except for his blinding effects. Literally, his blinding effects, it doesn't add anything to the Deadpool player's point of view that is satisfying. It's not satisfying at all to blind the enemy teams in this very annoying specific way, but it is extremely annoying to play against. And so what he adds to the game, just in that, is like so annoying. It's so awful to play against. So really, this is like what we don't want to have. I want us to change how we think about balancing this game and about hero design to where characters are fun to play and not awful to play against. Now, this also goes into talking about CC, slow effects, Blinding in general, stuff like that is just really terrible to play against. I think a really good example of something done well is actually Cloak, right? Cloak has a blinding effect that is annoying to play against. Except for the fact that it's really not annoying to play against. It's more of like, oh, I'm blinded for a couple seconds, it'll go away, and it's a interactable, right? If you're good, you can still kind of track people even when you're blind and do things. But the Deadpool stuff is just annoying and over the top. And like, it fits into Cloak's kit very well because she doesn't have much survivability. So it's like, it's one more thing that she has to control. It's a good like rock, paper, scissors back and forth. Where Deadpool literally just throws it out, doesn't think about it, keeps going, and it's just annoying. So this is what we want to aim for. I think Elsa is actually a great addition. I think she has a high skill ceiling. I don't think she's broken in any way so far. Granted, she just got released, so maybe they find something. But I don't think she's broken. I think she's going to be fun to play. I don't think she's annoying to play against at all. She doesn't have any annoying effects, crazy voice lines that are always going off, things like that. The one part of her kit that I don't like is just her trap. This thing, if you read it, it says, once it's deployed, it becomes invisible and invulnerable. What that means is there's no counterplay to it, right? The only counterplay is, I'm going to assume it's there, right? At least with penny mines, there's counterplay of like, I know if I'm walking into a net, right? So if you're playing against a penny and you are going through this tunnel, right? And you see this, it's like, there's probably penny mines there. Okay? If you don't see that, there's not. So there's counterplay to it. So that is my plead, right? This is my plead to the Marvel Rivals dev team, and this is my plead to the community. Let's change how we talk about things. And we can come together in forums and in discourse and in chats, and we can talk about like, okay, I don't like this change. Here's why. Let's package it all together, and then let's come up with alternative solutions to present to the dev team and be like, I don't like this. Here's why. Here's what I want changed and how that would make things better. Okay? If we can do that, we can come together as a community. We can actually reach out to the people who have a say over this, and then we can keep the game going. Because at its current rate, people are getting burned out, and like the competitive drive is lost. Now, there's one more thing that we have to address. This is like, balance is really important, but this is also equally as important, and that's the point system when you climb in ranked. So, for those who don't know, right now, if you want to climb in Marvel Rivals, the best thing you can do is actually just play the game. Because when you win a game, you gain more points than you lose when you lose a game. So what does that mean? That means over time, if you play enough games, you will climb. They have this, I'm guessing, because they're trying to appeal to the casual players. They want people to be able to get the skins and like feel rewarded and go up. Now, I actually have a series on my YouTube channel called Guess the Rank, okay? And we go through and people submit their VODs and I watch it anonymously with the player names hidden, and at the end, I guess the rank. And before, it was pretty easy. But you can tell, as the seasons go on, it gets harder and harder, and you can jump between each player's perspective, and you can tell, this person shouldn't be in the lobby. It happens all the time, because you can go look at their rank, they have a negative win rate, but they have a ton of games, and so they get enough points to climb. And what this does is it causes multiple bottlenecks. Okay, so there's a giant bottleneck around GM, low GM, high diamond, where all these people who just play enough games, they wind up there, and to get past there, you actually have to be good. And so there's a huge bottleneck of people who are good but can't play a lot, playing with people who are just plain terrible who played a lot, right? So it causes this like mass confusion and this rank inflation, and it causes so many problems. So now that I've laid out the case of you don't need to cater to casuals in this way, you can cater to casuals in the way of having the Marvel IP is already huge. Releasing cool skins for cheap. You can do it by... There was one more thing I'm trying to remember. Shoot. Keeping low skill characters in check. So what do I mean by this? I mean Squirrel Girl. I mean Penny. I mean Moon Knight. Characters like this, where it's low skill, Wanda, right? If these characters you can go on and play, as long as they're playable enough, but not completely broken, then it's fine. You keep those in. So this is a point that that a lot of people have made in Overwatch. I think Spylo also makes this point where it's fine that Scarlet Witch isn't an S tier character, okay? And she's not going to be played in pro with the very, rare exceptions, right? Same with Squirrel. Kind of Moon Knight in his old situation, not so much anymore. But like that's okay to have low skill characters that aren't super high, like low skill ceiling characters that have really low skill floors. That's okay because you don't want these characters to just be noob crushers. Because if somebody's trying to play Hulk, right, or Cap, they have to put in so much effort and have so much skill to get the same amount of value that somebody who literally just picks Penny or picks Squirrel or picks Scarlet Witch, right? They get the same amount of value. So you have to keep those characters in check to appease the casual community, okay? This is the same reason they don't buff Reinhardt in Overwatch. So with all that in mind, those are the changes that I want to see happen because I really like Rivals. So I think that's everything. That was my rant for the day. Yeah. Let me know if you guys like this video. Let me know in the comments below what you guys think. I agree. I think this game has so much potential. I think a lot of the characters are really fun. I think the designs are great for the most part. I think we just need to adjust like several little things. And like now that Overwatch is a real competitor again, now is really the time that we need to double down and like make these changes, appeal to the community, appeal to the dev team, and say like this is what we want to keep playing the game. So anyway, that's it for me. Thank you guys so much for watching. God bless. I'll catch you in the next one. Bye.